Welcome to Ladies Who List. If you've ever wondered what really goes on behind the scenes of real estate, beyond the glitz and glamour of selling sunset and the drama of $1 million listing, you're in the right place. We're diving deep into the issues and questions you've always had, educating you on how to be a more innovative and successful buyer and seller, and giving you the truth about buying, selling, and everything in between. No fluff, no filters, just straight talk. So today we're going to be discussing one of the questions that I would probably say is the most common question I get from buyers and sellers of whether or not they should stay in the city and raise their family or take that suburban plunge. So today we're going to break down the lifestyle, schools, value, and challenges in doing both. And today I have with me the famous Abby Kelly, an agent on my team who is just an amazing person and an amazing agent. Welcome, Abby.
Thanks for having me. I'm so excited to be here, and you know that I love this topic. So.
I do indeed. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I'm a born and raised Colorado girl, but I have been in the city of Chicago for over 25 years. I have raised two kids here who are now 15 and 17. So I've traversed life before children to life with children, and I can see the light of the tunnel at the end of the tunnel of what life without children, on a daily basis will be like.
Amazing. And that's one of the reasons why I wanted you to help me with this episode because, like you said, you have two high school kids, so you've done it.
I've done it. I feel like should get a trophy for it.
Yeah,
but I did do
seriously.
it.
And I'm in the middle of doing it.
I know. You go, girl.
I know, with my 12 and my 9-year-old. So I also have the perspective of growing up in the suburbs. I grew up in Glenview, which is in the North Shore. And I wouldn't trade my childhood for anything, but that was not the right thing for my family now.
Yeah, and I think that's the decision that I had to come across because growing up in Colorado, I always thought I would raise mountain outdoorsy kids, and here I am now. I have two city kids. I never could have imagined that, but there's a lot of pros. There's definitely some challenges, but I wouldn't change it for the world.
Yeah, same. Okay, let's get into it. All right, before we get into this, we always do a would you rather question.
Okay. I'm ready.
All right, so I had our team assistant text me a question that I have not read. They're always very silly. Okay. Would you rather have your shoes squeak with every step or have your stomach growl every 30 seconds? So, it's funny because I, growing up in the 80s in the Chicagoland area, it seemed like the natural progression move was you move to the city in your 20s, you get married, have kids, and you move to the suburbs. Yeah. And there wasn't really a lot, it didn't seem, at least at the time, that there was a lot of families staying in the city.
Well, and the stats show that. In the 80s, 90s, and aughts, as they're called.
But can we stop for a second?
Yeah.
Aughts?
Aughts.
Aughts is...
O's.
I have never heard. Okay.
The O's.
Okay, I have a lot to learn. Keep going.
So in the O's, the aughts, early 2000s, that is when we saw that more than 300,000 city of Chicago residents moved to the suburbs or elsewhere. We don't have the exact statistics. While the suburbs gained over 2 million people.
Wow.
Yeah, big difference. And particularly, Chicago's big, but 300,000 people, it makes a difference. And so that trend, like you were talking about the suburban plunge, that was what you did.
That was what you did.
There was no other way.
But in the 2010s,
Mm-hmm.
Is that how you say it? The 2010s?
The 2010s.
Okay,
Yeah, the
2010s. We're seeing that trend that trend has reversed. And now the city is adding people between 2010 and 2020.
Yeah, the demographic, the value shift, the commute time, there's a lot of different reasons for it, but no longer is it formulaic in this kind of white picket fence. This is what I'm moving towards in my life.
Exactly. And I think at the end of the day, I'm sure you get these calls also when buyers, my clients, buyers or sellers or my clients call me and they ask me this question. I tell them that I can give them all this information, but it is not a one size fits all. It is really a very personal decision for your family and how your family prioritizes certain things.
And that's what one of the best things about having a job like this is being an advisor is that it isn't just black and white. It's taking in all the information and really asking people, clients, what their priorities are and weighing all these things. There's not a right or wrong answer. And it's not forever either. You can make these choices and I think you and I have both seen it where we've had clients who thought that the suburbs after the city were the right move. Then they've come back again. It wasn't quite the right fit. So,
Yes, we have had a couple of those. Not a ton, but it does happen.
It does
It
happen.
does show that it is not necessarily for everyone. So let's just touch on, of course, why families love the city. Chicago's known as the biggest small town in America, which I love. I love that saying because it could not be more true.
It's the most surprising thing about Chicago that I think until you really get to experience it, I kind of feel like Chicago's even off the map that you don't come visit unless you know someone. It's just now becoming kind of a tourist destination. But once you come, you just see it in the neighborhood point of view. It's different than New York City with it's very urban and commercial centers mixed in with kind of the residential areas. LA can be very spread out. You don't realize when you're moving from one neighborhood to the next. Chicago has these amazingly rich neighborhoods that are diverse, they're unique. You can feel the difference between them, and you just would have no idea until you're here.
And I think that's why I ultimately moved back because I did live in Los Angeles and I did live in several other cities and I loved that city feel, but I could not find the Midwest people anywhere I went. And so to be able to live in a city that has an urban feel and good, wholesome, nice Midwestern vibes was it for me. I mean, the weather I could leave, but everything else I'll take. But as we know, I mean, families and people stay here because they want their kids to grow up with independence, cultural exposure, and real world awareness.
And they get plenty of that here. I mean, I think they get the best of the small town America feel through their neighborhood, walking to their neighborhood schools, going on the public transportation, seeing Nancy, the crossing guard. There's all these touch points that they have that are very small town feel.
Yes.
Yet they also learn how to ride the bus and the train, and they can go downtown with their families and see the skyscrapers. They can go to the beach and experience that.
And of course, there's all the walkability of restaurants and cafes and stores at your fingertips and commute times.
There is definitely something to be said about commute times.
A little bit less so now that work has gone mostly hybrid. But still, if you're commuting 3 days a week and it takes you an hour each way, that's
real time.
That's 2 hours of your day and time away from your family. Why families choose the suburbs. Everybody wants that yard. I think that's probably the biggest draw. And I understand that.
It's ingrained in your kind of storybook of life is that I want this space. I want to come home to mine, that sense of ownership and privacy that can come when you have your own space.
Yes. And we'll get into this later, but the predictable school situation, right? You don't have to, particularly for high school, test in. And a lot of people like the quieter streets, the more manicured lawns, lower density, which comes with easier parking. So these are obvious reasons why some families, the suburbs, are the right move. So let's get into schools because I think this is a big one. And let's be clear, all of the things that we are talking about today have come from real sources. Um, so when we talk about schools, a lot of people have it ingrained that, if they want a good school, they have to move to the suburbs. And that maybe was the case, for example, back in the 80s.
Mm-hmm.
But that is not necessarily the case now, according to many sources.
Yeah, U.S. News and World Reports, niche.com, greaterschools.org. There's a lot of information out there and data now that really looks at college success rates, attendance rates, a lot of different educational factors, test scores that show that the city is a major contender these days.
Yeah, in fact, 6 out of 10 of the public high schools in the entire Chicago metro area are indeed in the city.
Yes.
So on that list, we have Peyton, Northside, Lane Tech.
Whitney Young, Jones,
Yes,
and Hancock.
exactly. So that's a pretty record-breaking number. 6 out of 10? That's
Six
great.
out of 10 in the entire Chicago metro area. So that's suburbs.
But we're not
included.
going to lie. It's not easy to get into those schools.
No, I am not painting a rosy
Yes,
picture that
yes.
is just a walk in the park.
Yes, but there are a lot of really great schools in the city, as in the suburbs.
Yep. In the suburbs, we've got New Trier, and it's infamous. John Hughes movies, even Stevenson, Hinsdale Central. There's and that's just to mention a top of 3 when we were looking at these reports. But you can go to most any suburb and you're going to find a quality education.
Let's actually talk a little bit about the high school situation because it is probably the scariest part about staying in the city if you have kids.
Yes.
And I know that there's a lot of anxiety around it, a lot of unpredictability, and also a lack of knowledge of how it actually works. Since you have 2 high school kids, and I'm actually about to embrace all of this.
Yes.
Tell us just a little bit about how your experience was with your 2 kids.
Okay. Well, the overview, 50,000-foot view, is the suburbs. You go to your neighborhood school. Very, very simply, it's predictable. You have more competition potentially in buying a home in those neighborhoods because the school is established. And if you live in that neighborhood, you go to that school.
Correct.
City of Chicago operates a little differently, of course, just making things interesting. And while there are neighborhood schools, which are great, there's a wide variety of them. Some of them are magnet, selective enrollment, all these different options. But there is a process that is very similar to the college application process, where to get into some of these top schools that we mentioned earlier, the 6 top schools and others, you have to apply. And you are competing against other kids in the city who have attendance records, their grades. Generally, to get into some of these selective enrollments, you have to have all A's. And I'm not joking. All A's. My son, unfortunately, got 1 B during COVID, and it kind of dashed our hopes for him going to a selective enrollment school. It was a big letdown.
Yeah, so seventh grade is the grade that matters, which is
Seventh
what my
grade.
daughter's in right now.
Oh,
And yes, there is a lot of anxiety about every test, every grade that comes out, because if you get 1B,
it docks you, at least at the time I was going through it, 25 points, which doesn't sound like much, but when you're going up against a 900 score and all of a sudden you're down to 875 and other people have the all A's, they're at 990 or 898,
yeah,
897, and that's who's getting into some of these selective enrollment schools. But don't worry, there are lots of other great options, which is where my kids applied to the Amundsen Interbaccalaureate program, the IB program. They're very competitive also, but we're still able to get in. And it also happens to be the feeder school for our neighborhood schools. So even though we were outside of the district, they're still getting an excellent education through the number one Chicago public school that there is that is not a selective enrollment. And
and
I
how do you like
I love it.
Amundsen?
Absolutely love it. It's an incredible school. Gosh, who knows what great schools or how they're ranking it. I really think that sometimes you have to put those rankings, kind of on the back burner a little bit and try and put your ear to the ground to really learn about the school, the neighborhood, the people that go there. Are they getting bussed in from all over the city? A lot of people don't like Lane Tech because it's 3,000 people. It's a huge school
Hmm.
and kids are coming from everywhere. So it's not a neighborhood feel.
Right.
Where Amundsen, for the most part, really is feeding into the school. So when the kids want to go hang out with their friends after school, they've got people that are close by.
Yeah.
It's not like I have to drive them to Lincoln Park and whatnot.
Right. So it did work out for you.
It really worked out, and
Yeah.
I highly recommend Amundsen.
Yes.
Plug for them. Go Vikings.
And for the record, I'm very happy with my kids' elementary school Audubon. All right, let's talk value, because this is probably the one big misconception, is that you're going to move to the suburbs and get this McMansion, especially after COVID, when we saw such a high appreciation in the suburbs. The value difference is not that different between the city and the suburbs.
It's really not that different, and you have to think of your priorities. Is it space and privacy? And what does that give you and your family? A predictable school system? Is that best when you think of some of the trade-offs of potentially a commute? Maybe the walkability and energy of the city right outside your door. So that home value, when you can look at the north side, I don't know if you want to speak to kind of the price per square foot.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's really not that different. So when we looked at the north side of the city, where a lot of your single family homes are, the average price per square foot was $370 to $395.
Yeah.
The suburbs were not that much lower, $250 to $320.
Yes, you do get more bang for your buck.
You do get a little more square footage,
Right.
but not a ton.
But not like you double your home size
Correct.
or anything like that.
Correct. I mean, I think what you do gain is the outdoor space. You are on a
Yes.
much bigger parcel of land. You're further away from your neighbors. You have a yard, but the house itself is not that much bigger.
It's not. It truly is a number of bedrooms and baths, unless maybe you're going to buy a 10,000 square foot.
Exactly. Exactly. And of course, if you're moving far out to, far away suburbs, that's a different story. But as far
Right.
as the suburbs that are, close in proximity to the city, that is one thing I wanted to talk about, which I found interesting. So we talk about yards and space between neighbors, because in the city we're 6 feet away from our neighbors, right? It's interesting because my brother, who used to actually live in Roscoe Village, born and raised in Chicago, moved to Austin about, let's see, 9 years ago. And one of the things he says he misses most, because he's on this massive piece of land. He has a huge yard, everything he ever dreamed of.
Right.
And they've got, 2 kids. They live in this beautiful neighborhood. But he said he misses being able to walk out his door and having his neighbors right there, because there was always someone to talk to. You sit on your front steps and you've got kids up and down the block, and people, there's just an energy about it. And when you live that far away from your neighbors, you really don't socialize, or there's a little bit less of a sense of community when
Yeah.
your neighbors are that far away. So that was an interesting take. Never had thought about that before.
Yeah, I may age myself, but the Richard Scarry book, where busy, busy town, where instead of coming out of your house or walking into your garage and getting in your car and driving somewhere in the city, you tend to see people walk out of their houses. You see their neighbors. The kids wave and say hi to each other. You see Nancy, the
I do
crossing
not
guard.
know this book. What is this book?
Oh my God, Busy, Busy Town, Officer Flossie.
Officer Flossie.
And the hot dog race car who always got speeding tickets.
Okay, I live under a rock. Truly.
I'm sending it out as a gift for everyone.
Okay.
Busy, busy town. So it is just how small your world can be. And I really feel that in the city, not in a negative way, but in a familiar, community-based way, that there's other people, like-minded people, or diversity. On the same note, you just have all walks of life, and they're accessible. You see them.
Yeah, and I think it's fair to say Abby and I both live in a very neighborhoody part of the city. And so I think the experience is very different depending on what neighborhood that you're in. And there are neighborhoods that are very, like I just said, neighborhoody,
Yeah.
where you can have that kind of, I always say I feel like I live in a little suburb in the city.
Yes.
So it is possible. Could I personally raise my family in a high rise? I personally could not do that.
Yeah.
But living where I live, I think it's very, very doable.
Yeah. And to circle back on the space that you get, you still can get square footage that is a private home in the city, 3,000, 4,000 square feet, and still have the same responsibilities of home ownership. I personally don't want to move to, a 5 to 10,000 square foot lot, because I don't want to take care of that.
Yeah.
I
it's
live on a
lot.
corner lot right now, and the shoveling of a corner lot is more than I want.
Yeah.
I'm like, where's condo life? I need condo life.
Well, you're
I'm going to go back to condo life.
Yeah.
That's happening.
after your kids are off to college.
Yes.
So overall, there's pros and cons to both lives. And I have clients that moved to the suburbs and never looked back and can't even possibly imagine living in the city. And they are so happy they did it. And like we mentioned before, I have clients who have moved to the suburbs and moved back. And I think what's really important is to not just follow the trend of your friends, your family, who's around you. Really look inside yourself and your family and have a conversation about what are your real priorities?
Yeah.
What would life look like in the suburbs and the city? What is your budget for purchasing a home? Because that might make the difference for you.
Maybe having to purchase a second car if you're living out in the burbs, because you both need one.
Correct. So there's all these things that you have to consider. And when I'm, working with buyers and having these conversations, I like to get all the cards on the table. Let's talk about everything. Let's talk about what your budget would be. Let's talk about what that gets you in the city, what it gets you in the suburbs. Let's talk about schools. Let's talk about all these things so that you can make a unique decision for your family.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yes.
You can't go wrong either way. Okay, I'm pro city, but
We're a little biased with
We're
this.
a little biased with this, but it's more because maybe it wasn't the norm or what I expected to do, and I've been really pleasantly surprised with it.
Yeah. All right, now to wrap it up with our would you rather answer. Let me read the question again.
Okay.
Okay, would you rather have your shoes squeak with every step or have your stomach growl every 30 seconds?
So you know my personality profile, which is I want to ask a question.
No questions.
Damn it. Okay, fine. Stomach growling.
Isn't that kind of awkward though? Like when your stomach growls and like you don't know if it's your stomach or someone else's stomach because you can't
I
feel
know,
it.
but maybe they think it's theirs. Were the shoes squeaking every step?
I will say my husband,
Is a squeaker?
well, he got these plantar fasciitis
Oh,
shoes he has to
shoes.
wear in the house that squeak every second, and it is so annoying. So I'm going with my stomach growling too.
Okay.
Yeah.
See?
We cannot. I cannot have two
No.
shoe squeakers in our house.
No. No, thank you. I'm going with stomach growling.
Thanks for tuning in to Ladies Who List. We hope you're walking away with some real insight and a little more confidence for your next real estate move. Don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and share this podcast with anyone who's curious about the world of real estate. If you have any questions or topics you want us to cover, we'd love to hear from you. Until next time, keep it real, keep it smart, and we'll catch you on the next episode.